It's time to catch a collective breath as we head up to Connecticut in Lime Rock Park for IMSA road racing action. In 1984, TNN and Diamond B were there to cover the GT classes. In road racing, the race goes on rain or shine, but rain made it very tough on number 43, Diego Montoya, in his beautiful black BMW M1. Some bodywork was damaged, but it wasn't long before he was back out. The same corner, moments later, saw Lou Price in the Nissan sawing the wheel, trying to keep himself from the embarrassment of landing in the ditch. Oh well, Lou, maybe next time. Well, anger as opposed to embarrassment would be an appropriate word to describe the frame of mind of number 47, Walt Boren, as he tried to pass a lap car driven by Billy Hagan. Boren took a hard shot into the guardrail, virtually destroying the front-end bodywork and suspension of his Corvette. To add insult to injury, the 47 car was leading the race at the time of that incident. I talked to Walt shortly after he limped the car back to the pits.
Visibility is really the problem in the rain, and unfortunately I got tangled up with a back marker that I was lapping for the second time and didn't, just pretended I wasn't there, shut the door on me and put me in the guardrail. You know, the people just...
A little more lane respect is what you say.
Well, I mean, all I want is racing room. Here he is in the middle of the track without a clue of what's going on, and I was being very cautious because after Montoya spun and crashed, he ended up coming back out right in front of me, and I didn't want to get tangled up with him, and yet I had to stay ahead of Mandeville. So I was so cautious for the whole race, and then to have this happen by some idiot right at the end, really, it bothers me. It's just a big disappointment. I came in, we were able to get one more lap, and I think we salvaged the 4th place, but that...
Somehow, I don't think Hagan's got a Christmas card from Boren that year. In the GTP ranks, the rain was no kinder to the drivers of the prototypes than it was to the GTO cars, as demonstrated here by Bill Whittington in the 57 March Chevrolet. A little too much power coming out of the turn, then the front wheels exit the track, and there was nothing to do but go for a motorized hike into the woods. Ugh, that hurts. As he exited the car, he must have been thinking it would be impossible to get that car back out on the track with that kind of serious damage. But in no time, the 57 was back on the racetrack. 1986, we were back to Lime Rock to cover the Sports Car Club of America's Trans Am race. Number 28 was off of the track first, the victim of what he called a nerf from behind by the number 2 car of Chris Neifold. Although it wasn't a payback, it was just as good as Neifold himself spun a few laps later. The track at Lime Rock equalized things in its own way. Then it was time for the Pete Halsmer, Wally Dallenbach Jr. story. Here's how Brock and I called it.
The tight stuff like right here. Dallenbach has got a chance. Dallenbach tries him outside. No, they touch their Brock. Halsmer off the racetrack.
Oh, yes, and right across the racetrack. This is in the West Bend. Halsmer comes to a stop, and now the leader is Wally Dallenbach Jr. He muscled his way through that melee, almost collected Halsmer as he came back across the track.
Wally Dallenbach Jr. had this to say about that.
You know, I was faster than he was, and he was just getting wide, and we came up over the hill, and I was on his left, and we made contact, and we both started going side to side, but I seemed to save it, and he spun. He sure caught up awfully fast.
Well, you'd probably catch up fast, too, if somebody had nudged you off the track. And look how close Dallenbach came to T-boning Halsmer. Both men were lucky in this instance. Well, Wally Dallenbach went out not long after that shunt with mechanical problems, but things did not go much better for Halsmer. Then it went from bad to worse for Pete Halsmer. As he was coming up to pass number 28, Jim Miller, in turn 1, Pete rear-ended him with a force that sent them reeling into the safety tire wall and sent turn workers scattering. In replay, we see that Miller had moved to the outside as far as he could, but Halsmer was moving too fast to get past on the inside and into the turn. Pete Halsmer explained to Brock exactly what happened.
We lost the front brakes for some reason early on, and it caused me to spin a couple of times because I couldn't get it slowed down for that first turn. And finally, I was trying to learn how to drive the thing without front brakes, and it was going pretty good. And then finally, somebody stopped sooner than I expected him to in front of me and just nailed him. It was Jim Miller. He and I both went off the backside, but he's okay nonetheless.
Got pretty hairy out there at the beginning. You and Wally were going at it.
Yeah, well, it tends to get that way.
Yeah.